Here, and I am so happy to be here on Light Warrior Radio. And by the way, if you're new to my channel, would love for you to hit the subscribe button and perhaps even join the Light Medicine community on Circle. We'll put the link below. So, my mission is to help sensitive souls harness their healing, intuiting, and manifesting superpowers so we can all pull the world out of darkness, world out of darkness, and create a life of joy, peace, love, and harmony and prosperity for all. And today I'm super excited to have my friend and wonderful inventor, David Schmidt here from LifeWave. And I've been part of LifeWave for 20 years. And we're going to talk about this new water machine that's launching in 2025. But before I do that, let me share a little bit about David in case you are new to this channel, have not heard of LifeWave, have not heard of this man. So David's the inventor of the LifeWave technology and founder and CEO of LifeWave with over 30 years of experience in business and product development. His background includes studies in management information systems, biology from Pace University, followed by entrepreneurial ventures, manufacturing, R&D, and somewhere along the line, I heard that he got an honorary doctorate, so that's awesome. And he does not go by Dr. Schmidt, but he could be. So his work with the U.S. Navy and the military led him to participate in its mini sub program. And I remember the story from way back when about how the energy enhancer phototherapy patches were invented as an offshoot of what happened and all the research. So the really cool thing about LifeWave technology, and as a former acupuncturist, really respect and love this technology because it's helped myself, a lot of my former patients, and now friends and clients. So David's got about 100 patents plus, I've lost count, worldwide, and lots of groundbreaking inventions. And at our recent conventions, some of the things that are coming down the pipes is super exciting. One of those is the water machine, which David can tell you why we wanted to call it the Lobster water, but I like to call it the water alchemy machine. So that's my name for it, David. Thank you for being here. I know you're a very busy guy. Really appreciate your time.
And thank you, Dr. Karen. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Ah, yes, my pleasure. So you've been an inventor for quite some time, and I know there's a documentary coming out about your life, which is wonderful, and I'm really looking forward to that. Now, you've made your fame, if you will, with these phototherapy patches, these patented patches that work incredibly, at least from my personal experience and those around me. And now you've invented some sort of water machine. So the first question is, why? Why did you think of doing that? What is it, and what are the benefits? What does it do?
Yeah, so of course, for the last 20 years, more than 20 years, the phototherapy patches have been stimulating the surface of the body with light. So this is a process called photobiomodulation, and the patches are able to tap into the naturally occurring biological code that all human beings use for communications, both within the cell and from cell to cell. So if we were to look at the DNA emits highly coherent pulses of light called biophotons, and they initiate thousands of different biochemical reactions within the cells. So the LifeWave patches, they tap into this so we can elevate glutathione, elevate copper peptide, elevate carnosine, or what have you, with this technology. So for many years, I thought, what if we could get light inside of the body? And we're already using light for communications, but what if there was some way of increasing that amount of light inside the body? So this was kind of generally the idea. And I thought of many different ways of how this might actually be possible. But then a number of years ago, I had a breakthrough, and we had been making materials that never existed before. We were taking base metals like tin and copper, aluminum, and we were combining them with the oxygen in the air, but in the presence of a very specific type of electromagnetic field. And what we found, once we used X-ray diffraction as an analytical tool, that we could change the angle with which the oxygen was binding to the metal and creating entirely new species of materials that never existed before. So the general idea was, if we could use light, which of course is very high frequency electromagnetic energy, to change the bond angle between hydrogen and oxygen, we might be able to insert photons in between that angle. So that would mean as the water goes into your body and it's metabolized, those photons of light would be released. And if we could embed the correct wavelengths of light, then we would be able to trigger a metabolic response that you might normally get. So that was kind of like the foundation for the study. And of course, we used a biomimetic method to look at species that don't age to determine what should those wavelengths of light be. And the ultimate goal is we're introducing energy in the form of light inside the body to start a regenerative process so we can reverse the age of the cells. That's the goal.
Wow, that is great. Now, a lot of people are new to this idea that light can do stuff in our bodies. And I remember being in a lecture hall and also reading Dr. Bruce Lipton's work, Biology of Belief. And he says that chemically, when we have the chemical vitamin, whatever it is, attached to the receptor, it goes in and makes a change in the DNA, so on and so forth. He said that things like emotions can change the DNA's structure and therefore protein creation, and therefore also that frequencies of light are even better than the actual chemical to attach to a receptor. So I thought that was really, we never learned that in medical school. So
No.
fascinating how, yeah, like frequency can make our bodies change. And what you're talking about is if we can find the right frequency of light, the right meaning ideal and optimal, then the body can start to take that message, if you will, and start regenerating. Is that
Yeah,
kind of
and
summarized?
the implications to this are pretty extraordinary in the sense that we know that energy controls the biochemistry. This was established by Robert Becker back in the 60s. People like Jerry Tennant have wrote phenomenal books on the subject of
Right.
healing as voltage and the
Yep.
use of energy to control the biochemistry. Uh, Fritz Popp, of course, did work, and Beverly Rubik in the fields of biophoton emission and how that will induce changes in the biochemistry. And also, it's self-evident. We know when we go out in the sun, we get a suntan. So we know that UV light will cause the production of melanin in the body. UV light will cause production of vitamin D. So we know that there's this connection between light initiating biochemical changes within the cell. But what hasn't been very well known is a code that the cell uses that we can tap into for orchestrating synthesis of specific peptides and synthesis of specific reactions, initiating different reactions. So in this particular case, when we look at, well, what's kind of the highest good that we could do with light, and that would be to stop and reverse aging. And the reason is that everything in our body works better when we're younger, right? When we have uh, the optimum amount of mitochondrial function when we're in our youth, optimum function of hormones. Our body is going to heal correctly. We're not going to be predisposed to getting degenerative conditions like arthritis because our immune system is working fine. So if we can stop and reverse aging, that will be an incredibly powerful way to provide people with optimum health. So that's the practical side to it. And then when we look at the long-term benefits, of course, to stay young and healthy as long as possible would be a great outcome as opposed to just improving lifespan. So we're interested in all of these things. So with the water, the idea is that if we look at nature and we look at the way that certain species were created so they wouldn't age, if we can figure out what information system they're using to achieve that, and in this case, the information system is in the form of highly coherent pulses of light, and we can duplicate that in a technology, which is essentially what we've done, then we have a practical way for human beings to change the way they age that's never been available before.
Wow. Wow. That is amazing. And You were mentioning at the convention that one of the models that you were using was lobster, and that lobsters actually get bigger and stronger, like the Asgardians from Marvel,
Yes, yeah.
rather than get old and decrepit. And we see, even, I mean, especially in the last few years, people really rapidly aging, I think, unfortunately, because of the environment and things we've, some people have chosen to do or not do, and things like that. So this is really, really important to, yeah, understand, I think.
Yeah, we were in the middle of a telomere study with Dr. Norm Shealy, and we had data both pre and post COVID. And what he was
Oh,
finding during this research was that people were aging more rapidly during COVID. And he suspected was that it was being driven by emotional stress. People had a lot of anxiety, there was a lot of uncertainty. And
yes.
this was actually both before and then after people were taking the vaccine as well, which was kind of like a separate case. Um, that we know for sure today that vaccinations, the mRNA vaccines, that is, to cite it correctly, cause chronic state of elevated inflammation,
Hmm.
elevated levels of fibrinogen, specifically what we measured in our study, two studies that we did. But in any case, yeah, we decided to study lobsters because they're effectively immortal, although in practical terms, they can be killed by a predator, they can get sick, or eventually at about 150, they outgrow their ability to keep molting and producing a larger shell. But the lobsters themselves stay young, healthy, and they actually get stronger. So for a while, I used to refer to this water as lobster water. And
I love that name.
because I had to call it something. And then, of course, our marketing people said, well, is it too late to change the name? Uh, so we didn't go to conference calling it lobster water, thankfully, thank God.
That's great. So now, do you have an official name, or is that going to be launched later in 2025?
We do have an official name. Maybe we'll announce that at the Vision conference. So I probably shouldn't say it right at the moment, but we do have an official name for it now.
Beautiful. Well, in the meantime, I'm calling the light water, and I'm calling it the water alchemy machine because I love the word alchemy. So
Fair
that's
enough.
kind of like what I do, and this is right in alignment with that. Now, David, one of the things that people ask is like, okay, so we kind of get the water, the light, and this does sound very, very different from other water machines, but at the same in the same breath, people are asking, so how is this different from the machines that filter water, get rid of fluoride, chlorine, which is difficult sometimes. Does it make it alkaline? Does it make it hydrogen water? Do you add any ions and minerals? That kind of, those questions. Do they make hexagonal? Like, there's all these questions of people that love water machines are asking me. So I'll let you kind of dive into some of that.
All right, let me share an image here, and this might make it a little bit easier to see. So this is from one of the patents now that we have on this. So we've already have our first issued patent on this, and there's a number. I think we're going to end up having 6 to 8 patents on this uh, by the time April or May come around. So we'll have quite a few, but the first one's already been issued. And so this is, general some concept art of what the machine looks like. And over here on the left would be a 2 liter fill area. And then over here on the right, behind that panel, is going to be our 2 stages of filtration. So you put either clean or tap water into this. It'll go through a primary stage of filtration to remove just about everything. We got the highest end filter made that we could possibly have made. But then we still pass it through a second filter. And by the time the water enters into the central compartment, it has additional hydrogen that's been added to it, and it's got oxygen in it as well. And that's important because the genesis of this discovery um, were several different phenomena, but where it originated was taking hydrogen and oxygen, recombining them catalytically in the presence of a novel electromagnetic field. So behind this panel over here is the core of the machine, and it's something like this. This is just a diagram for the sake of the patent. But basically what this shows is that if we take water, we add hydrogen and oxygen to it in the presence of 6 different wavelengths of light, that it's going to change the bond angle between the hydrogen and oxygen. And we've measured the conductivity of the water. That interestingly changes. And this process is able to embed these photons into the water. So when you drink the water, the photons are released inside the body. So alkaline water machines won't do that. Filtration, of course, obviously won't do that. Structured water won't do anything like that. It's a totally unique process. And the water will, in fact, vortex when you freeze it. So you get this beautiful implosion. Whereas when you freeze the water, you get these ice crystals that form in an implosion and even a vortex funnel in the center of the beaker. And when we change the wavelengths of light during our experimentation, we can actually change the structures that appear. So it does show the relationship between light and matter, which is completely consistent with the Bible, how God speaks things into existence.
I remember one of the beakers 2 years ago or 3 years ago where it looked like there was something spiraling up out of it. It was like
Yes.
crazy looking.
We've had a few of those things happen. We've had pillars that have kind of risen out of the water, things that look like potato chips, fish fins have appeared. Really interesting things. A recent test that my daughter Kelly was doing was we got 2 globes that appeared in the water, one stacked up on top of the other. And that actually has a very practical application. One of the directions we're going in this is we're learning how to embed light into the body and cause it to go to specific areas of the body. So for example, let's say, I can talk about this freely since we're not marketing it or selling it. In the future, you'll be able to drink water, and let's say someone is experiencing macular degeneration, the energy, the photons of light will go directly to the eyes to initiate regeneration of that tissue. Or if someone has cirrhosis of the liver, we can send the light directly to the liver and trigger a regenerative response there. So that technology, it's in its infancy, but that's where this is going.
Oh, that's really neat. It's so funny because I think when we first talked about this, and I remember you said you were so excited because you said you got this down to about the size of a microwave. It's actually smaller than that now. And I said, so it's not portable? And you just kind of paused because I was like reaching for the stars. And I said, I imagine in my mind a dial organ. Like, I know you don't have dials on this thing, but it's like, okay, heart, I need some heart water today, or I need some liver water today. So you're kind of sort of speaking to that right now.
Yeah, well, I would say that in the future, there is an upgrade that we've built into this machine, so people won't have to buy another machine. So we've anticipated this is something we want to do in the future. But it's just not yet a today thing. But when people buy these, it will already have that upgrade in it. They'll just need to add it later on. I could probably say that.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. And yeah, if I drive somewhere, it's coming with me.
Oh, yeah, I know how you feel. I know how you
Yep.
feel. This is an interesting graph. So this is from a biopulsar.
Mm.
And so this is just an example where we took an individual, and this gentleman, about 50 years old, had been on a plane for 3 weeks, traveling between Europe, Asia, and the United States. And when he came in to see me, I put him up on the biopulsar, and everything to the left of the blue line is before drinking the water. And you can see that ideally what you'd want to have is a straight line. And
Oh.
these readings indicate an erratic flow of
Mhm.
bioelectrical energy through the system. So as an acupuncturist, what you know is that if you have a disruption in qi flowing through the meridians, people are going to have experience pain, right? And so you have to normalize the flow of energy to alleviate pain. Um, so in this particular case, if we want to speak in Western terms, there is now a disruption in tissue conductivity. It could either be too high or too low, but the signals that are traveling through the nervous system aren't very smooth. So at the blue line, he drinks the water, and you can see how rapid the response is. It's literally within 15 seconds. So this
Wow.
distance from here to here is about 90 seconds. So here to
Whoa.
here, about, uh, just over 1 minute. So within the first 15 seconds, we can start to see the readings leveling out and becoming much more stable. So we notice a
Well,
few
and 15 seconds is so fast, David. I know people are going to ask, well, how does the water get everywhere in 15 seconds? It doesn't,
the
but the
light
light can.
does. The light can. The water goes into the body and is immediately metabolized, and that energy is released. And of course, because they're highly coherent wavelengths of light, it's not broad spectrum light, they're specific wavelengths.
Mm.
Um, it acts as a signaling mechanism, as we might expect. So we see a couple of things. Number one, the effect is immediate, and number two, the effect is systemic, and number three, of course, the effect is very powerful. Uh, with within 15 seconds, we're seeing these readings stabilize.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And do you have an idea from your studies, like quote unquote, how long the effect would last on someone like that?
Yeah, let me pull up some other stuff here.
Hmm.
Hours. It'll last for hours. Drinking one glass. We've measured it about 3 to 5 hours. So this was a study that we did, and this was done by doctors Melinda and Caitlin Connor. And I'm going to kind of get to the summary on this. So what we did in this study was this was the first one we've done, and now we've done double-blind placebo-controlled studies, and we just finished our 5th study on this technology now. And
Cool.
so in this study, we wanted to take a really broad sweep at it, and we wanted to measure the metabolism through urine, changes in urine, which I'm going to show some of that. We did bright field and dark field microscopy. We used
Mm.
a physiology suite, so we measured things like heart rate variability, measured
Love that.
EEG. Uh, we did these really cool tests with infrared. Again, no pun intended. But we actually saw that on some people, one woman specifically who was a healer, you could see after she drank the water, you could see light coming out of her throat
Mm.
on the infrared. Um,
Neat.
so we'll skip through this because this is in the back office so people can pull this up and look at it at their leisure.
Oh,
But
great.
this is just going to show the extent of the data collection that we did during the study. So
Wow.
what I would want to draw some attention to is the amino acid data, because to me, this is what's so interesting. So you drink this water, and immediately there is an increase in the body's ability to metabolize amino acids, and a very specific pattern emerges. So one of the amino acids, well, 3 of the amino acids here that get upregulated are sarcosine, serine, and glycine. Glycine to me is so critically important. When I saw that that was getting upregulated 30-40% just within minutes, I was like,
Wow.
okay, we must be seeing an increase in production of glutathione and maybe even an increase in production of copper peptide. Serine is important. In previous studies that we've done, we've looked at the correlation between serine and cognition. And one of the things that happens when people drink this water is they get an improvement in spatial awareness. They feel awake, but it's not like being on caffeine. And so we speculate that that's from an increase in metabolism of serine, and sarcosine also involved in cognition.
I had never even heard of sarcosine.
There's a number of them here that are really obscure,
Yeah.
but the data picked it up anyway.
Wow.
Valine was exciting because valine is of course, leucine, isoleucine, and valine are the three
Muscles.
branch chain amino acids. So it's like so this is like, well, maybe we're getting an increase in muscle protein synthesis, but valine is going to be associated with growth hormone levels and regulating blood sugar. So again, some significant advantages there. Histidine, I don't want to take up a lot of time going through all of these individually, but it's involved in protein synthesis. So when we start to see upregulation of glycine, histidine, valine, it's like, okay, this looks like it's turning on protein synthesis. And if so, then the hypothesis that this could increase the speed of tissue repair, that is a mechanism for age reversal. All those components fit. Alanine, of course, is a precursor. It's involved in production of carnosine and AHK. And of course, that has an advantage in athletic performance. And then this, of course, was the big one. Now, not only valine, but we see leucine being upregulated. And that's the key amino acid involved in muscle protein synthesis.
Mm, that's great. Well, and as people age, I just noted, like, even when I see my father, I mean, he hasn't necessarily listened to some of my health advice, but they do the best they can. Just seeing him intermittently and just seeing his muscles kind of shrink is really like alarming to me. But at the same time, realizing, okay, people have their lifestyle and their medications and whatever they want to take. I just don't understand why the medical profession doesn't see this as a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Age-related, sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss is a massive problem because as we lose muscle, we're also losing bone density. People by the age of 70 maybe have half the muscle that they had, and of course, once they fall, that's big trouble. We're going to be doing a study next year, and I believe what we're going to demonstrate is that when someone exercises, they get enough protein and they drink this water, it will have a dramatic anabolic effect. I know I've seen it with myself. And I think that's what we're going to find in a study. Another important thing would be proline is upregulated when you drink this water. And of course, proline is involved in formation of collagen. So, and then this was another big one that I got excited about, the KP pathway, because that's involved in synthesis of NAD. So, what was exciting about this is that, okay, what this data shows is that you drink this water, and the first thing that happens is energy is turned on in the cell. That has to be there if we're going to have an age reversal mechanism, or if we want to have accelerated healing, accelerated tissue repair. Got to turn on energy production. So that evidence is there. We also see that methyl groups are activated. And again, this indicates a change in gene expression. So that's, again, we're turning on muscle protein synthesis, collagen synthesis, elevated growth hormone. That's what we would expect to see. And that's what the data shows. Increase in growth hormone levels, increase in muscle repair, increase in the way the body heals by elevating collagen production, and then, of course, improved immune function. So even if this didn't reverse aging, which we believe we'll find, the value to what it's providing is pretty extraordinary. So
Hmm.
again, in the interest of time, we had drawn our own conclusions by looking at the data, but I thought, okay, let's put this into ChatGPT or Claude 3
Oh,
and
smart. Yeah.
ask this question and say, okay, well, you know, if you had a product that improved the synthesis of those amino acids, what do you think that would mean? And then
Hmm.
this was the answer that ChatGPT came back with, that this would be a
Wow.
product that's designed to support muscle growth, recovery, and protein metabolism. So
Fascinating.
AI agreed with our conclusion.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really, really neat. Thanks for showing us all that behind the scenes data. And I love that sciencey stuff because I'm like a nerd. So,
Oh, there's going to be more at the Vision Conference. I was just skimming over it. At the Vision Conference, we have a 45-minute session. Well, actually, two 20-minute sessions where we're going to dig into 4 of the studies that we've done. And that every month following that, we're going to have a LifeWave Connect where we just focus on each
mm.
individual study so we can get into it in a lot of detail.
That's exciting. That's exciting. Um, so one of the things I have my list here is we've talked about how the light can potentially increase lots of wonderful things and anti-aging process in the body. One of the questions is like, how does that help work synergistically, support the phototherapy patches, and where do you suggest people begin on this LifeWave journey if they're brand new?
Yeah. So first, everything is going to work together. I mean, as a world-class athlete, that you have to be
You
doing
say that, I just
everything.
want to laugh. Sorry.
Well, it's true. I mean,
Not really, but that's okay. Maybe
okay.
a world-class adult skating athlete. How about that?
Okay, that's
But
fair
thank you.
enough. Fair enough. Uh, you have to have everything in line. You have to
Yeah,
have your diet correct, your nutrition, supplementation where
your
needed. You
mindset.
have to get proper rest, proper exercise. Yeah, you got to be all there. So um, this is one piece of the puzzle. For people that are focusing on how can they have the best health, how they stay as young as possible for as long as possible, they need to tackle every one of those parts of their lives, right?
Mm,
So they have to manage their stress, get proper rest, eat properly, supplement where needed, and then tools like the patches and the water are going to make that even better and give them results that they couldn't get without those tools. But regarding LifeWave, the go-to product is X39. That's where people should start because it's simple, relatively inexpensive, easy to apply, and they're going to get great results with it. And of course, it's incredibly safe. So that's where people should really start is with X39.
okay, yes, that's great guidance. Thank you so much. And it's funny because some of us, and I don't know what it is about the men that were in my practice previously when I was an acupuncturist, had the thought like, I should be able to do this on my own. So I have this case of this one man who was chronically fatigued, and I would do the lifestyle stuff you talked about, right? The getting sleep, doing some walking, a little bit, stop eating the chocolate and the sugar and all these kind of things. And for months I was like, oh, because he'd get better, get worse, get better, get worse, and he just wasn't making that much progress. And I thought, okay. And at that time, I wasn't sure about the patches yet in terms of selling them. I felt kind of like weird as a medical doctor selling stuff. Now I have no problem with it. But anyway, but at the time I thought, okay, I said, look, okay, I just want you to try these new things. They're called energy enhancers. And I don't know whether they're going to help you at all, but would you be willing to try for 2 weeks? And he goes, sure. So I told him he wore them every day. He comes back 2 weeks later, and I'm thinking, okay, he's gonna say the same thing over and over again. I'm looking at his chart, and I says, "How's it going?" "Oh, it's going great." I said, "Oh, yeah, what's great?" And he goes, "I've been walking every night." I'm like, "What?" And I said, "Oh, wow, that's fantastic." And I said, "And how's the chocolate?" And he goes, "I haven't really felt like eating chocolate. I haven't actually eaten any in 2 weeks." I was just floored, David. Like, so that energy piece that you were talking about earlier, so important. So it's great to have the lifestyle things for sure. Like you can't be a couch potato, have patches in the water machine and think everything's going to be solved for you. But what I
Right.
notice is these tools will help you feel better, and then people start to get motivated and have the energy to do the lifestyle stuff. I just want to make that point.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. I would say that when people make a decision to exercise, right? We're kind of coming up to that point of year. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
you got to get back in shape. And so when people make that decision, we know most people, they'll go a few weeks and
Yep.
then they'll
Yep.
tail off after that. So I think what's exciting about LifeWave is that when people get back started on an exercise routine again, they can use the patches and get results very quickly.
Mm.
So with the carnosine patch, for example, I've seen where people use that product, and after the first week, they're already noticing a difference in their strength and stamina. So obviously, if people get results quickly, that's going to keep them motivated and they're going to want to keep doing it, right?
Oh, yes. The motivation is huge. And I just notice even if I'm working out, like I do some CrossFit like stuff 3 times a week, and I'm just not sore. In the past, I would just work out once, I'd be sore for a week and then had to stop, you know? And it's great now. I don't even think about it. Like I can do 700 squats and
Oh,
maybe I
wow.
feel something, maybe I don't. I just take it for granted now. It's so awesome. And the energy is really, really important, like we talked about.
Well,
Um,
that's an interesting mechanism because we measured that in a study. And carnosine is interesting because it buffers lactic acid. And
yeah,
so lactic acid is funny. On the one hand, it's a growth factor. On the other hand, if it hangs around too long, it can impede performance, right? So, yeah, the benefit of carnosine is that it will help to buffer lactic acid, and not only that, but as carnosine accumulates in the muscle tissue as an antioxidant, it facilitates energy transfer in the mitochondria. So it's ultimately going to improve strength and stamina. So, yeah, we did in fact find that mechanism by measuring the pH of the blood before and after using the carnosine patch.
oh, that's neat. Well, between the X39, X49, carnosine, I'm typically in the past somebody who can do workouts and not really notice like muscle showing. But now we actually have a mirror in our bathroom. Now everyone knows what my bathroom looks like. But anyway, we have this mirror in the bathroom, like right opposite the toilet, right? It's a long story why it's there. Anyway, and James would be like, flexing in the mirror. He's a funny guy, as you know. And I get up and I'm looking at my legs and I'm like, wow, I can see cuts in my leg. Wow, this is so awesome. I'm like, James, take a look at my legs. He's so excited. I'm like looking at my arms and yeah, it's pretty cool. So for someone who has never really been able to build muscle that well, even as a young person, I'm much stronger now than I ever was. So thank you, David. Great, great help with all of this technology. Do you have time to talk a little bit about the Cellergi supplements that are coming down the pipes as well and how they
Sure.
interact with the patches in the water machine?
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, the thought was we wanted to integrate all of these things. So, with the morning formula, Cellergize, the basic idea was we have people using the patches, and many people are vegans or vegetarians,
Mm,
and they may not be getting certain nutrients like creatine or beta alanine or cysteine. And then we have other people, of course, they're busy and they don't have the best diets,
right.
especially here in the United States. So maybe what we could do is create a formula so that regardless of which product, which patch that someone was going to use during the day, they could get all of the nutrients that they needed to get the best effects out of the patches. So that was the first thought. Then the second thing is because we knew the water machine was coming out, let's make this a powdered formula, and then the water will act as a delivery mechanism
Ah,
for the nutrients that are in the formula. So, um, yeah, and the results, I think what people would be excited about is that when you drink the Celergized formula, it doesn't have any caffeine in it, yet you get an energy boost from it, and that effect will last for hours. So it matches up extremely well with the water and the patches in that regard. Um, yeah, so that's the basics behind it.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. I
Yeah.
have to say I'm very picky when it comes to supplements. I don't actually take very many, to be honest.
Yep.
And I'm very picky on the taste as well. And I got to tell you, I did try them at convention. I was like, this actually tastes really good.
Oh, it's an iced tea lemonade. We had a lot of fun flavoring those, and
Okay.
it's become, I have a canister up on my shelf here, and when I'm not in the office, the staff, the research staff, we're a close-knit family. They often like to come in and grab some samples from me because they know that it's sitting there. But yeah, we made that with natural flavoring. It's sweetened with stevia, so there's no added sugar. We don't use, obviously, we don't use aspartame or sucralose or anything like
Right.
that.
Those none of those toxins.
Right. Yeah, we stay away from that stuff.
Yeah, that's great. And do you feel like that like those supplements are good enough to support people using patches that may not have the perfect diet, or is there something else people should be doing?
Well, one of the things that it doesn't contain would be things like essential fatty acids. So it doesn't
Mm,
contain an omega-3. So people might still want to go out and supplement with something like an omega-3. That might be one example. Um, we have other supplements that are coming out for specific reasons.
nice,
Um,
nice.
yeah, but yeah, I would say um, depending on what effects people are looking for, things like omega-3s. I like to supplement my diet with olive oil, so I get a good organic olive oil. I get natural honey that I'll add to my food and these kind of things. Um, yeah,
Okay, cool. And the last question about the water machine is, once you make this water, which I believe in convention you said about takes about 45 minutes to go through the whole process.
right.
Yep. How long does it stay active for? And can you put it in a container or the fridge or some other container to make it last longer?
It's an interesting question. So we've run a number of experiments. I would say the number is about 5 hours that it
Okay.
will stay stable. Although, for full disclosure, when we run our clinical studies, we make the water and then people drink it immediately.
Right.
And preferably, people are on an empty stomach. So those are
Oh,
the conditions under which people have used it in the studies. So we know that's the outcome. We have done things to test it where we have people that have made coffee and tea out of it.
hmm.
And we do notice a change in the flavor of the beverage. It's very smooth. But I wouldn't recommend cooking with it or heating it. Um, if someone was going to keep it in a container, I'd recommend that it be glass and then
Hmm.
also that it would be kept in the dark. Uh,
Hmm.
but yeah, our studies show what we'll do is we'll make the water, we'll have it sit in a container that's where no light can get to it, and then we will test it after 3, 4, 5 hours, and we see that it's still stable.
Oh, that's cool. Well, there are some glass bottles that you can get like a black neoprene sleeve for.
Right.
So that might be a handy way
Yeah.
to keep it dark. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then last question, what do you see for the future of humanity from your vantage point and the things that you have planned for us?
Well, I'd say for the things that are outside of our control, I pray daily that the world will find its way back to living in peace. You know,
Mm,
I've been in over, like I've traveled all over the world. I've been in over 50 countries. And I think, what you find is that it doesn't matter what country you're in, doesn't matter the race, the color, the religion. Human beings, they want a stable life, they want to live in peace and harmony. There are good people everywhere,
yes.
and it's the politicians that generally create the problems. Um, so, I hope that there can be an awakening where we all realize, hey, we're all human beings. Just getting through life is difficult. So let's work together
Yeah.
and make this the best planet possible. Now, within the world of LifeWave, I've never been more excited about the future based on the direction that the company is heading. We're going into the 20th anniversary, being number one in the world in terms of growth in the industry. Next year, we have a great shot in making it into the top 10 largest direct selling companies in the world. I think that we're going to hit that. We'll make it into the
Well,
top 20 for sure. We're at number 32 now,
okay.
but we'll make it into the top 20 for sure, but a chance at top 10. Um, but this gives us resources that we've never had before. So at our Welcome Center in Utah, that Star Trek Welcome Center that we built out, the type of technologies that we're talking about are not too far off, but having an entirely new method for generating clean electricity to power the home, charge electric vehicles, and actually earn money. So these generators will produce more electricity than people use. So you'll have a system that's running 24 hours a day where you'll be earning money from that just by having it connected to your house. So
That's
that
neat.
to me is the next multi-billion-dollar opportunity that we're going to get involved in. But between now and then, we're going to do we're going to do quite a bit.
Well, there's a lot going on in the world, as you know, and I know LifeWave has done a lot of humanitarian missions as well, and we see that, you know, the we are very vulnerable if we don't have electricity in our house, right? The
Absolutely.
heating and yeah, and all the things that I thought in the past were helpful. I thought that, you know, having wind generation was healthy. I thought having electric cars was you know, better for the planet, and all these things are not actually true. I was like, oh
That's
man,
right.
I really bought it. You know, I really thought they were, and then all these documentaries and evidence coming out as it's the same old. And so we do need a better solution, and I'm really looking forward to that. I've been with LifeWave now over 20 years, so really grateful for all the work that you and your beautiful, amazing team have done. So thank you so much, David, from the bottom of our
Oh,
hearts as a
thank you.
community.
None of this is possible without the brand partners, and we're the coming year is going to be incredible. Just staying focused on the next 12 months. We've got the water machine coming out. We've opened up the Welcome Center now. We've got new things we're doing with the hologram technology, so all of our brand partners can build their business in an entirely new way. And of course, we've got the documentary uh,
Yes,
coming out.
Mickey Wallace documentary. So excited.
Documentary is going to be so cool. Shout
Yeah.
out to Mickey Willis, who's doing a great job on that. So yeah, there's so much that's just coming within the next year. It's incredibly exciting.
It is. It is. So thank you so much, David, for your time, and really appreciate you very, very much, as do all of the LifeWay brand partners and customers for just your heart in this whole arena and helping humanity. Also want to thank everyone for listening in. Remember to hit subscribe if you're new to my channel, and we'll put some links, helpful links below for you to get more information. And until next time, everyone, lots of love.